What's going on, Ambitious Vet? Welcome to episode number 45 of the Ambitious Vet Show with United States Air Force veteran, Director of Communications of GreenUp Solutions, and founder of Post Military Pro, Adam Braatz. Welcome to the Ambitious Vet, where we believe if you desire more, you've got to become more. My name is Chris Hoffman, Marine Combat veteran turned passion-driven entrepreneur. We're here right beside you in the trenches, interviewing some of the top military influencers in the world that are living a passion-driven life out of uniform. So they're going to share their breakdowns, their breakthroughs, and even the blueprints for you as an ambitious vet to follow to live that more fulfilling, meaningful, and impactful life that you desire. Are you a veteran-owned personal brand or business looking for more exposure, brand awareness, or maybe it's just engagement? From my business experience, I find that both small and mid-sized companies, they struggle with nurturing and just staying in front of their idea person. If that's you, we'd love to see if you align with our mission here at the Ambitious Vet Movement, which is really just to empower veterans who desire more with the tools and insights needed to execute on their next mission, leaving them in action to make a real impact in life post-military. If that sounds like you, we'd love to chat between all of our mediums right now. We're reaching around 10 countries right now between the Ambitious Vet live show, podcast, and the Passion Driven Tip of the Week, not to mention all of our content marketing out there. We'd love to partner up right beside you in the trenches and help narrow that gap in ambitious vets executing and ultimately accomplishing their next mission out of the uniform. I'll leave my email in the show notes below. We look forward to hearing from you soon.
Hey, this is Steven, host of Knucklehead Podcast, and you're listening to the Ambitious Vet Podcast with Chris Hoffman.
All right, Ambitious Vet, just want to welcome you to episode number 45 once again. Just want to give a big shout out to you who's listening to this, because it's you that is willing to invest the time, emotion, and even invest more content into your mind that's going to allow you to long-term build your value out there in the uniform, guys. This podcast is growing very rapidly right now, and it's because of you listening to this right now and sharing it with people that matter most to you in your life. We're in 10 countries now, and it's all for you, and we're always looking to grow more. So if you want to give us feedback, definitely email me in the email in the show notes, and let's get better in the trenches together. Now, this episode, I'm excited, guys. If you've ever wanted to know how to network your way into more lucrative opportunities and build long-term profitable relationships, no matter where you're at in your transition, or if you're still looking to create more profitable opportunities out of the uniform, this interview is going to be for you. Adam Braatz served on active duty in the United States Air Force for nearly 8 years. At the time of his separation, he was a staff sergeant and military training instructor at Joint Base San Antonio Lakeland. He is passionate about assisting veterans with their transitions and subsequent civilian careers. Adam has built a reputation as a world-class relationship builder. He has leveraged his diverse and organically developed professional network to build a successful civilian career. He has helped countless others do the same. And as a coach and public speaker, he is dedicated to sharing his nuts and bolts approach to network development in order to help people like you and I everywhere achieve our personal and professional ambitions. So guys, without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into the trenches with Adam Braatz. Say hello, man. You there?
Hey, yeah. Can you hear me?
I can. I hear you loud and clear, brother. So go ahead and fill the gaps, man. Welcome to the Ambitious Vet. Fill the gaps. Let us know a little about who you are outside that introduction, brother.
Well, that introduction made me sound pretty cool. So thanks for that. I mean, you pretty much covered it. By day, I am the director of communications for a company called GreenUp Solutions, based out of southeastern Wisconsin. It's a solutions-based company, has various divisions, and the president and vice president, Andrew and Isaac Wines, have built a fantastic business. So shout out to you guys if you're watching. And I'm just happy to be serving them. It is veteran owned and veteran operated, that company. So very proud to say that over half of our employees are veterans. We give a lot of people second chance employment, people that are unemployable on paper, technically. Over half of our folks are vets that we're giving meaningful employment opportunities they can support their families with, and hopefully give them opportunities to progress if that's what they want, move them up the chain quick as quick as they want to work for it. And yeah, it's an exciting career. And by night, I am work through a website called the Post-Military Professional that I founded. Through that, it's a web resource, blog, videos, that sort of thing. It's growing a couple other divisions, so stay tuned for that. Pretty excited about that. That's coming down the pipe in a few months. But that has been a passion project of mine. It's non-monetized, and through that, I try to build connections with veterans that are looking for support, and providing it, and just using my network, and a guy knows a guy that knows a guy that knows a guy, and trying to hook them up with the resources that they need, finding the holes, the gaps in their knowledge, the gaps in their experience, the gaps in find things that need polishing, and then just providing them those resources so they can find meaningful employment and avoid the trap of underemployment. And I'm also a volunteer with the Wisconsin Veterans Chamber of Commerce. So shout out to those guys. They're a fantastic organization. I'm the chair of their Veteran Integration Professional Resource Group, which is basically a veteran transition career group. It's a networking group, and just trying to find as many avenues as possible to provide as many resources as I can to veterans and transitioning service members. And then I'm a family man. I'm married. My wife is Kate. My stepdaughters are Chloe and Calla, who are 12 and 9, and my son Finn is 2.
Wow, man. Yeah. So, you're all around. You have all kinds of avenues for networking, man. It sounds like, and I had a conversation with Alex a couple weeks ago, and it sounds like you guys are doing some really good stuff. And it sounds like your guys' core values and how you guys are developing your guys' company is amazing. So, awesome, brother. It sounds like you're doing some great things. You've got a passion project. You're building communications inside of an organization. You really are an example for ambitious vets to follow. So, brother, let's kind of dive into your transitional story, man. So kind of tell us a little bit about that, man, and how you caught some traction.
Right. Well, it took me a while to catch traction, actually, which is, not uncommon. My transition story is very similar to a lot of transitioning veterans. I did everything I could to maximize my education on the way out, because I thought that piece of paper and that resume line would be the important thing that propelled me into a career I could support my family with.
Of course.
So by the time I left, I had used a little under half of my GI Bill. The post 9/11 GI Bill is great because it's based on times. So if you really want to cook it and work your butt off, you can get I got a master's degree, and I have over half my eligibility left. So I tell everybody to use that. I mean, it's a fantastic benefit. But so I left with a master's degree. But as far as transitioning is concerned, I didn't do much in the way of networking. I remember I was like 3 months out from transitioning, and I made a Facebook post like, should I get on this LinkedIn thing? Is this important for me? Oh boy. I went through the transition assistance program, the congressionally mandated course that everybody's got to go through, that death by PowerPoint for 5 days to tell you everything that, politicians think that you need to know to be successful in the civilian workforce. And there is some valuable information there, and there's some great TAPS classes out there, and the people that run those things are passionate about what they do. So I don't want to cut them down at all.
Yeah.
But all the veterans out there that are listening, that are in the civilian workforce now, looking back on their TAPS, they're probably nodding their head saying like, oh, yep, I got some interesting information. I at least did. So that was kind of my prep. I didn't prep the way I should have prepped. I didn't know what I didn't know. So after I transitioned, I got lucky. It was like a week before I was technically unemployed, that I had gotten a call and I had gotten a job, and it was a salaried position. But I was underemployed. I was drastically underemployed, which is an epidemic for veterans. And veteran unemployment is obviously an issue. All veterans should be able to work if they're capable, if they're physically and mentally able to do so. I think they should all have opportunities for employment. But Wisconsin, for example, our veteran unemployment rate is 2-3% tops. It's very, very, very low.
Awesome.
But I would be curious to see what the veteran underemployment rate is. There are a lot of veterans that are settling for entry-level labor position hourly sort of things, or very low-paying salaried positions, which is basically a con job to get 40 to 60 hours out of somebody that's a quality person and underpay the living heck out of them. So that was my situation. And I recognized that I was underemployed, but something was better than nothing. And it was through that first position that I started to understand the value of a network. And through that, I discovered that I could, in a positive fashion, not by like burning any bridges or not by backstabbing anybody or scheming or plotting or any of that stuff, just by doing a good job and letting my work speak for itself, and then expressing to people what my needs and my desires were professionally and with my career. That if you have that positive attitude behind it and people don't think that you're trying to fish for something for yourself, if you're being genuine, they'll bend heaven and earth to try to help you, and I realized that by helping other people, it made them want to help you. And you don't help people to get something in return. It's the good karma thing. And so through that, I was able to get, and get a progression, get another job, then get a progression, then get another job. And in, 4 years post-service, I had gone from underemployed to doubling what that salary was, to more than doubling what that salary was. And so to being in a position where I could better provide for my family. So one thing that I try to really help coach people on that come to me that need help is there is a potential that you will be underemployed. But one, don't settle for that. And two, here's how you fix it. There are some people that can leave the service and get into a 6-figure job. People in IT, civil engineering, a lot of commission officers that are, looking for consulting work or lobbying work or, that sort of stuff. They'll transition into 6-figure work sometimes, depending on if they're where they're at and whatnot. My target audience is, first, second, maybe third term enlisted only transitioners, because that's my experience. I'm happy to help people that are commissioned officers that are transitioning, but I don't have that experience. I'm happy to help people that are retiring that are transitioning, but that's a little bit of a different skill set and a different kind of different angle to be working with, because we have kind of, not only do you have veteran prejudice, but you have potential ageism. You have, there's a lot of issues that those people run into that takes experience that I don't personally have. So my target audience, the people that I'm trying to help more specifically, more in a more targeted fashion, those people face underemployment as a huge issue. I mean, it's a problem. So that's what I'm trying to combat. That's what I faced personally. It took a while, and it was the network that did it. It wasn't my resume. It wasn't, it wasn't trying to climb the corporate ladder within one organization, because promotion from within is a myth, generally speaking. So taking those experiences and the success that I had, at least in that avenue, and getting other people to be able to do that as well, so they can support their families, like that's golden for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, what I really hear in that is you created a path for yourself. You created success, and you figured out a way to leave evidence behind you, like kind of like a paper trail, and you figured out how to duplicate your efforts. And, I really enjoyed doing some research on you leading up to this interview. And I love how tactical based your YouTube videos are, your blogs are. They really, as us Marines would say, broken down Barney style, man. And it's a very, very 101 type. Okay, this is how you deal with a cancellation for a meeting. This is a way to catch up. How do you build rapport with someone that if you're feeling awkward or scared, something like that. Some stuff that we really do deal with, man. Because I remember my first interview when I first got out of the uniform back in 2012 is I had so much social anxiety. I was stuttering. Every sentence was kind of the sentence I just said should have been the sentence I said before and yada, yada, yada. And I just stumbled on my words because I didn't know how to use feeling words, right? I didn't know how to say how I feel. So I'm sure you've probably, have figured that out with what you're doing, but I want to kind of dive in. I mean, what had you start understanding that your talents and skill sets were networking? When was that aha moment for yourself, Adam?
Man, it's hard to pinpoint it. I think I was working for a small nonprofit. So after I got out of the military, I was an executive for the Boy Scouts of America, which is really a great organization to work for. They're one of the last nonprofits that have like benefits for their employees. It's kind of a dying thing, especially in the nonprofit world, because it's really hard. There's so many nonprofits and not as much money to go around, and it's kind of hard to elbow your way to the front in that world. And but it was a great organization to work for. And after that, I worked for a smaller nonprofit that was locally, and basically my job there, even though I had done a large amount of networking, you'd be surprised with the Scouts, not just in fundraising, but also in kind of building committees and trying to bridge gaps between people across 2, 3, 4 counties, because it's a big operation. But this small time I spent with this smaller nonprofit, I was basically meeting with people at a high volume, 10 people minimum a week. That was my job, was to establish relationships and take this long-term approach to fundraising, which is essentially sales, really, kind of higher pressure sales, because you're trying to get somebody to part with their money for something that's not physically tangible, for something that they can't hold in their hand. You have to really be able to tell a story, because what you're selling is a warm fuzzy, is a feeling. I would liken it to selling insurance or selling contracting services for financial management. You're selling security. You're selling the idea of what their retirement looks like. It's not like I'm trying to sell you this phone. Here it is. Put it in your hand. You can feel what it is.
Right.
So fundraising is similar to that, and so I really had to not only be able to tell a story, but do it in a succinct fashion and do it in a way that didn't make people think that I was lecturing them or telling them a story. It was asking questions and shutting up and listening, which I can be pretty talkative. That was a challenge, but being able to ask questions that will direct somebody towards an idea and not being manipulative.
Right.
And doing all of that without a sale or an ask or a call to action or a demand in mind, and just building that relationship, especially on a first meeting. Holy cow. There's so many fundraisers that'll, have a coffee with somebody they never met before and be like, okay, can we have $500? What? Come on.
Yeah. What I hear in that, Adam, is it's more long-term relationship building. You had to figure out how to initially get into their organizations, and then how to build trust, how to nurture that relationship, and consistently provide small value adds to eventually where the know, like, and trust factor was there, and stuff like that. So that's awesome, brother. So kind of transitioning into this concept that we talked to a couple weeks ago, because Ambitious Vets, if you're listening to podcasts, if you're live with us, or if you're watching this later on, me and Adam chatted about 2 weeks ago, and he blew me away on this concept called high value networking strategy. And he focuses on building massive amount of relationships and stuff like that. So can you dive more into that and how Ambitious Vets can start utilizing that strategy right now in their lives?
Right on. Yeah. And I can't take full credit for the concept. I think maybe I coined the phrase high volume network. I'm sure plenty of people used it before.
It's all good.
There's a guy that was a mentor of mine when I was a fundraiser, called Andy Locke. And he's like a prolific fundraiser, and he's a major gifts guy.
Mm.
He was working for a university, and basically took all their fundraising to the next level. Like they have 10 buildings on their campus because of this guy.
Wow.
And then he transitioned to work for what is it, the Wisconsin Lutheran High School Association or something like that, and basically took their annual fundraising from 6 figures to high 7 figures in a short amount of time. And it was just from him being such a genuine guy, and his thing was meet with anyone and everyone, and that was something that I learned to absolutely be true. You meet with somebody whether or not you think you can gain something from them, because you're not trying to gain something right now. You're trying to establish relationships.
Mm-hmm.
They say in the fundraising world, like, you never know who has a rich uncle, so I mean, if you just try to, yeah, really, I mean, if you just try to seek out people that you think you can gain something from, they're going to sniff that out from a mile away, whether they know it, whether it's in their subconscious or not, they know.
Yeah.
So the concept is just to meet, obviously at a high volume. It means you meet with as many people as you possibly can. But you're not really being super selective about who you're meeting with. You're just trying to establish a body of relationships in your local area or remotely or beyond, and having your main focus be not what you can gain or what you can get down the road, but how can I help you? And not how can I provide value for you with my products or services? How can I help you? And then asking questions and listening and gaining information about that person and retaining it and writing it down after the meeting when they're not looking. And then down the road, for example, one week I met with a guy that worked with a company that did background checks. And this guy was a guy that I had gone to high school with his younger brother, and I knew he was in the area, so we grabbed coffee. And I wasn't going to ask this guy for money. Like that wasn't, I didn't want to really meet. I didn't have any intention of meeting anyone in his network. I just wanted to hang out with the guy and get to know him and ask him questions. Who should I get to know in this area? What's your advice? A week later, I asked somebody what their greatest struggle was, what their greatest pain point was. What are your challenges that you're facing? Those are my favorite questions to get to know somebody. And they said, like, I have a problem attracting and retaining quality people. I can't really check to see if I'm getting quality people. They could get somebody I think is quality and they have this stuff that's drudged up and it's bad, or I can't even hire them in the first place. And I said, I know a person and I could connect the two of them. And maybe even they don't remember that I was the one that connected them, but then maybe they remember that I'm a person that can reliably be a guy that knows a guy or a guy that knows a gal. And it's through all those little micro connections and giving everybody the warm fuzzies of being somebody that just wants to help people and connect other people, that you kind of have to have faith and rely on the karma of all of those long-term relationships that you're fostering coming back. And that's what Andy Lockhead had success with was, he built long-term relationships. He got to know people. And when he wanted to ask for a contribution, he wasn't asking for their money. He was saying, I know that you're really interested in this movement. I think this might be something, you're interested in this subject. You like tennis. You're passionate about tennis and you're a Lutheran. So guess what? Lutheran High School and XYZ needs a tennis court. You may want to have your name on this and support it, or your daughter plays tennis. So maybe she'll play on this tennis court, like he gets to know the intricacies of these people. And when it comes time to pitch a product or a service or ask for a contribution, it's natural. It's a natural part of the conversation. It puts no blip on the radar. It doesn't step back the relationship at all or make people feel uncomfortable or like, oh man, this guy's asking me for stuff again. So yeah, that's the concept behind it. It's just meeting with everybody and anybody. And I will add, I was talking about this concept at a university a couple months ago, and somebody kind of tongue in cheek had asked, like, well, what about a homeless guy? Would you ask a homeless guy to network with you, to have a cup of coffee with you?
Yeah.
And my response was, I think what he wanted me to say was, well, you got to be a little selective. But my response was, do you honestly think that there's nothing at all that you could learn from a homeless person? from
Yeah.
that person's entire life experiences that led them up to this point, and their challenges and their hardships and their experiences and their joys and their sorrows. Like, do you honestly think that that person isn't worth your time? You can learn something. You can learn something from anybody. And I think the kid was a little embarrassed when I said that, but it's the truth. So yeah, networking.
You probably had him learn a lot. So that's great. So what I'm really hearing in that too, brother, is that you are able to have a bucket to kind of tap into whenever you need it. But when you know people's missions and knowing what they really care about and what they value, whenever you do have a project, service, value add, or maybe you have someone that's looking for something specific, you can be like, okay, whose mission aligns with this? And if you're leading with being interested versus interesting, that's whenever you can actually build up that bucket, that pipeline to go back, dive in, and then be like, hey, I got somebody for you.
Mm-hmm.
Is that kind of what I'm hearing?
Absolutely. And checking back occasionally when you see something that reminds you of somebody. I had an associate of mine that just popped up on NPR, a commercial for his company yesterday, and I'm going to send him an email tomorrow and say like, hey, you're famous. I heard you on the radio.
Yeah.
Hope you're doing well. Nothing more than that, and if he wants to connect, well, whatever, we'll catch up, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome, brother. I mean, one thing that we do over here at the Ambitious Vet too is every time we work with somebody, like right after I interview you, I'll go back and I'll actually send you an endorsement on LinkedIn and on your Facebook business page, just based on how you were. And that's building long-term relationship, doing a value add, being like, hey, this guy is a value. And like you said, just sitting back, see if there's a law of reciprocation that comes into play. And if not, it's all good. At the end of the day, it's just, how can I leave with value? How can I help this person's brand or their mission grow? So I love where your heart's at. So brother, tell us more about what your mission is, man. I love what you're talking about with your battle tested tactics of building meaningful relationships. Tell us more about your mission, your vision on what you're creating in your passion project.
Oh man. It's funny when you're developing a passion project, and really it's still the post-military professional the website launched almost a year ago today. And I had been thinking about it for years leading up to it. And, it's funny that mission and vision statement, you tweak it and you change it a little bit. So I could say it right now and it could change. But
it always does.
Yeah. Right. So
yeah,
the kind of overarching theme is I want to provide resources for veterans and transitioning service members to help them gain meaningful employment. And by meaningful, I mean something they can support their families with and they feel fulfilled and respected in. Because that's not always a guarantee. It really, I mean, you'd be surprised. Well, I mean, you're a veteran, I mean, there's veteran prejudice in the civilian workforce and in the civilian workplace. So trying to help vets find that meaning and that purpose, because being underemployed doesn't help you find that purpose again when you're in that void of like, what is my big global cosmic impact now that I'm not in the military anymore?
Right. Like this epic thing. Yeah,
absolutely. So in a way, being underemployed is dangerous. I mean, I went from being paid X amount of dollars to being paid almost half in the civilian workforce, from the military, being underemployed, and it took its toll on me emotionally, mentally. It was kind of hard to stomach, and going from that drop in responsibility, as well. I had responsibilities to my family, my community, people on my street, and the people that I worked for and served with, but I didn't have that. Like I had 150 people that wouldn't move an inch if I didn't tell them, that were relying on me to help them transition into service. Like, how do you compete with that? How do you compete with that feeling when you're getting paid half as much and getting beat up for 60 hours a week, or working your fingers to your fingers to the bone, doing hourly work and being, told off by some mid-level manager that's younger than you, that has not seen what you've seen or done what you've done and has no clue, it can be dangerous. So I'm trying, my mission is to help people, and specifically, like I said earlier, targeted the first, second, third term enlisted transitioners and veterans, find that meaning and purpose again through employment, and to do that through an organic network, which I believe is the best way to do it.
Yeah, I agree. And I love it. And Ambitious Vets, I mean, you go to his YouTube channel, I'll put all the links in the comments below and in the show notes for the podcast. And he also has a blog, which I'm seeing you're blogging about once a month, and it's high quality content. And on LinkedIn, I think he's blogging even more. And he gets a lot of engagement. We were joking 2 weeks ago on how he can actually be polarizing and people can disagree in what he's doing, but he's always figuring out a way. How does he rustle up the feathers a little bit, but also always come from a place of how does he give you ambitious vets an aha moment on how can you start diving through networks and creating bigger opportunity. So brother, before we go ahead and, say goodbye, I mean, what is 3 golden grenades that you could give ambitious vets right now that could make immediate impact in their life as they're moving forward?
All right. Network. Yesterday, a network in person, network at networking events, network with people on the streets. I mean, network with people on LinkedIn, and ask people like, who I want to do blank. Who do you think I should talk to? And people are going to help you out then, because one, you're asking them for advice, which makes people like you and want to help you. And well, I mean, that's the best point. They want to help you and give you that. If you ask for advice, they'll give it to you. But who should I talk to also helps them to share their network, which makes them feel good, right? And they will say, I think you should talk to this person and this person and this person. And that is your biggest tool in your toolbox. So building your network is number 1. 2, get your data on point. So your LinkedIn needs to be on point. And if it's not, find somebody that is, and send them a message that says, your LinkedIn is slamming. Can you help me? People love to help people, and if they say, no, forget you, then okay, whatever, next, this other guy's is really cool. Can you help me? Especially if you're a vet, they're a vet, find that connection, be like, dude, my LinkedIn's tore up. Can you help? But also your resume. And it's not as important as you'd think, but you still need to have that not look messed up, because it won't help you as much, but it could hurt you. Like I interview people all the time for Green Up Solutions. You have typos in your resume, we're not gonna talk anymore. Usually, unless you're a vet, I always give an interview to a vet, and then I tell them in that interview, like, for future reference, you're coachable moments.
Come on, man. Yeah.
And the third bit of advice, be patient and be positive, and don't be afraid to be underemployed if you need to be, as opposed to unemployment. Like, if you need stuff to pay the bills, like, it's okay to be underemployed, but don't settle there. Keep trying to push yourself this way, and use the tools that you have available to you, your local veterans chamber. There are some really active and engaged VFWs out there, veteran networking groups, employee resources groups. Yeah, you name it. There are resources out there. So it's okay to be underemployed. Just don't settle there. So those are my 3 bits of advice.
Huge, man. Ambitious vets, I encourage you guys to just take one of those golden grenades, go and implement them right now, guys, and start diving into the trenches with people that are right in front of you. I mean, I was in a mastermind a couple weeks ago, and the person that facilitates the brainstorming session was just like, sometimes it's just the resources right in front of you. So who are the people right in front of you that you could just ask the right questions, ask for help, and start creating opportunity right now, today, tomorrow, whenever it is that you want to take action. So, Adam, man, I just want to acknowledge you, brother, for who you are, man. You're a prime example of an ambitious vet, man. I mean, you're doing some good things inside of a corporation. You're building a passion project and helping veterans be able to create meaningful work and doing it in a very effective way, I might add.
Thank you. I'm trying my best.
Yeah, it's good stuff, brother. And, thanks for just being a good example for ambitious vets to follow, brother, one step at a time.
My pleasure. I appreciate the opportunity to chat with you.
Well, there you have it, Ambitious Vet, episode number 45 of The Ambitious Vet with Adam Braatz. Biggest golden grenade that popped up for me was focus on networking versus resume. Biggest problem I see that ambitious vets deal with that are really desiring more impact, happiness, and satisfaction out of the uniform is they're not focusing on what their core strengths, passions, gifts, and talents are, right? Resume is really a tactic that you guys could easily outsource to a professional for like less than $100. What you guys can be focusing on is getting out into the networking events or just the pools of people that have the same passions as you in the same industries, right? Biggest analogy I used to use when I used to be a sales trainer was, think about it like this. Imagine a basketball player before a game shooting 1,000 shots in an hour versus the one shooting only 100. Which one do you think is going to be more effective, right? It's called deliberate practice. The more reps you put in, the faster you're going to get better. And that's what we're in. We're gritty. We're fighters inside of our tribe, Ambitious Vet. And if you're listening to this, you're always looking to get better. So that's my words of advice from this episode, guys. As always, subscribe, rate, and review the podcast if you haven't already. Feedback also is what allows anything to improve in life, and we want to improve right in the trenches right beside you. So meet us in the middle, and let's get better together. Sound good? Lastly, Ambitious Vet, we know you're warrior made, but to become more and live that passion-driven life that you're desiring out of the uniform, utilize this one golden grenade you heard today, and you'll find your life being more meaningful. Guys, let's go get it.